nung nalaman namin na meron, nagpa-line up talaga kami for the booster.
Being in the frontliner, kailangan walang magkakasakit sa amin. Kasi walang mag-aalaga sa mga tao.
Ang gagawin nito ay maitaas muli yung sapat na tinatawag natin antibody protection, which over time, alam natin, bumababa ito. At batay sa mga datos at mga pinakahuling impormasyon o kaalaman, usually mga after 6 months, bumababa yung antibody protection level.
You just saw clips from day one of the deployment of booster shots for healthcare workers. Government hopes its rollout will address problems with waning immunity among the fully vaccinated.
The target to have 1.7 million medical workers jobbed in 2 weeks' time. And hopefully even the elderly and the immunocompromised will receive theirs within the month. The rest of the population is expected to get their boosters next year. Good evening, I'm Marisol Halili.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. The Philippines has started administering COVID-19 booster shots for health workers, with other groups set to receive theirs as early as next week.
According to the Health Department, health workers may choose to receive the same brand or they may opt to go for another vaccine brand. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to this big story.
Filipino healthcare workers finally breathed a sigh of relief as government on Thursday began a rollout of booster shots.
Masaya kasi alam namin na well-protected kami. Hindi lang yung mga patient namin, at the same time yung family.
The boosters come just in time. Some doctors have noted an increase in the number of vaccinated people acquiring COVID-19 as the effects of the vaccine began to wane after 6 to 8 months. The DOH plans to give boosters to 1.7 million healthcare workers by the end of the month.
Sana mawala ang severe to critical COVID cases sa hanay ng ating mga healthcare workers.
But the list has also been expanded to include other hospital staff, security guards, clerks, and janitors. A few more requirements though: if you were fully vaccinated with Pfizer, Moderna, Sinovac, Sputnik, and AstraZeneca at least 6 months ago, you can get the booster. If you were vaccinated with a single-dose Johnson & Johnson, you can get the boost 3 months later. Similar to the vaccine mixing and matching, boosters can be heterologous. This means brands like Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca can be used as boosters, regardless of the brand used after being fully vaccinated. Menandro Perilla, a security guard in the National Kidney and Transplant Institution, for example, was vaccinated with Sinovac in April, but was boosted with Pfizer.
Sa pangatawang ko, okay naman po. Wala naman po masamang side effect.
Homologous boosting, on the other hand, uses the same brand. While mixing and matching is available for boosters, it cannot be done for second doses. Only a few vaccine sites like Quezon City, Taguig, and San Juan have started to roll out boosters on Thursday. Other local governments said they will start their rollout before the end of the week. They also plan to start boosting seniors and persons with comorbidities by next week. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
To understand better how booster shots work and the guidelines we have to follow, we have on the show a member of the vaccine expert panel, Dr. Ronchin Solante. Dr. Solante, welcome to The Big Story.
Hi, Robbie. Good evening.
Doc, so we now imagine beyond frontliners and the immunocompromised, we now imagine a lot of people going back to their vaccine cards checking, oh, 6 months na ba ako? 6 months na ba ako? Now, we say we're going to have to do this because of waning efficacy. Maybe qualify that for us first. What exactly does waning efficacy mean? How gradual or how abrupt is that waning in efficacy?
Yes, no? So the cutoff date is 6 months after, because based on the data, once you get the vaccine, primary vaccine series, first month, second month, your protection is still good. On the third month, it starts to go down. Not zero, but 60, 70%. And then fourth to fifth month went down as below as 50%. And that's why after 6 months, you need another dose so that that protection that you got during the primary vaccine series will be retained, and even more with a booster shot. And that's what we want to get from this booster shot. The antibody protection will be higher so that we will be protected against the infection.
Okay, so the general public, we're saying, will likely be in line for their booster shots next year na, 2022 na. But some people, as we said, are already checking their 6-month mark. At the same time that we're reopening the economy, we're telling people, oh, it's okay. Now, kung sakali that I fall, my 6th month, let's say starts to fall now around November, heading into December, what does that mean for how I should be thinking and planning for the Christmas season?
So, ang priority natin ngayon, Robbie, are the vulnerable population, the healthcare workers, elderly, and those with comorbidities. Now, for the general public, you need to still, even if you get the booster, you still have to wear your face mask. You still have to observe the health protocol. And because Christmas is coming, we're crowding, we're gathering, could be possible, then you really have to be very careful in those events because since you're not boosted yet, then you have a higher chance of getting the infection compared to those who are already boosted. More higher, especially kung wala ka pang bakuna. No? So ito yung mga population na when we rank in terms of vulnerability, first among those are the unvaccinated, then this is followed by those who did not receive yet the booster, and then still has to really follow the health protocol.
Okay, now in terms of the rollout, how do we expect the rollout to go for the booster shots? Will it be essentially the same as what we experienced for the first round of shots? In other words, are we just waiting for the booster shots to arrive at our LGUs, or do we anticipate that given supply, that there will be other options for people to actively sign on to and sign up for schedules for their boosters?
Actually, ang kailangan mo lang dito is you have to enroll again sa LGU, then you have to have that part of the listing kung gusto mo magpa-booster because this is voluntary, just like the primary vaccine series. So you have to wait for the announcement of the LGU. Sa healthcare facilities naman, ang direction ko sa amin, we were given the option of which vaccine, and the list was also given to the Department of Health. And I think these vaccines will be arriving in our hospitals soon. And once we have those vaccines, then we'll be getting those, what we chose or what was our option.
Okay, Dr. Ronchin Solante, maraming salamat po. Dr. Solante is a member of the Vaccine Expert Panel. But what's the difference between a COVID booster shot and a third dose? According to the World Health Organization, booster doses are administered to those, first of all, who already have completed their vaccine series, be it 1 or 2 doses. The objective is to restore their vaccine's effectiveness after waning with time. Third, or additional doses, meanwhile, are part of the extended primary series itself. They optimize or enhance the immune response of individuals, especially the immunocompromised and seniors. Additional doses of Pfizer or Moderna come at least 28 days after the second one. As for booster doses,
from the recommendations and also looking at the data, it should be around 6 months after the second dose of their vaccines.
the country's Food and Drug Administration has authorized COVID-19 vaccine Covovax for emergency use. The brand is the 9th vaccine to be approved in the Philippines. It has an efficacy rate of 89.7% and has been approved for ages 18 and above. According to FDA Chief Eric Domingo, it will be administered in 2 doses, not less than 21 days apart. The vaccine was first authorized in India and is also seeking approval in Canada and Europe.
These are the other big stories tonight. The Bongbong Marcos-Sara Duterte ticket is now sealed. The presidential daughter also claims that ruling party PDP Laban refused to endorse her for vice president. Incidents of cybercrimes targeting financial accounts have grown threefold over the course of the pandemic. Lenders want SIM cards to be registered to help curb the trend. And familiar foes return in the latest trailer of Spider-Man: No Way Home. But whether or not the former Spideys will make a comeback remains a guessing game. These big stories after the break.
Hello, Peter.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Maricel Halili.
The Bongbong Marcos-Sara Duterte tandem is already a done deal according to their respective parties.
If so, Senator Bongo's hopes of teaming up with the Davao City Mayor is already done for. Mayan Los Baños with the details.
Kung ako po ang tatanungin, personally po, wala po akong ibang pipiliin kung hindi si Mayor Inday Sara Duterte.
That was Bongo's specific wish as regards his running mate in the 2022 polls. But in a matter of hours, Mayor Sara doused Go's hopes. A tandem with Bongbong Marcos is now a done deal as also confirmed by the presidential aspirant. Their parties, Sara's Lakas CMD and Marcos Jr.'s Partido Federal, have also formalized their alliance, with the later adopting Sara as VP Bet. But the pair failed to get PDP Laban's backing.
Ang aking partido ay nakipag-alyansa at humingi ng suporta para kay Bongbong Marcos at para sa akin, matapos kong tanggapin ang inyong hamon at panawagan. Tinanggihan ito ng PDP at naiintindihan natin ito.
The ruling party said they respect the presidential daughter's decision but said they will rally behind Go due to their alliance with Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS. Go will vie for the presidency under PDDS together with President Duterte as senator. Though it is clear that the ruling party will support Senator Go in the presidential race, question is the PDP Laban Kusi faction open to supporting the candidacy of Mayor Sara Duterte since their party and the PDDS still have no VP candidate as of the moment? The PDDS has no vice presidential bet. Party President Greco Belhica said that if it were up to him, he would back Sara's run. PDP Laban Secretary Melvin Matibag told 1PH that their focus is on Senator Bongo. He said they are now more united after Go decided to run for PDDS.
May pong mga speculation, marami po nagsasabing ganyan, pero sa partido po kasi hindi na po siguro namin pag-usapan yung mga nakaraan, kundi sa ngayon po yung partido ang itinutulak na yung kandidatura po ni Senator Bongo bilang Pangulo.
Meanwhile, Mayor Inday Sara has accepted the offer to be the chairman of Lakas CMD after Senator Bong Revilla offered the post. Reporting for News 5, Mayan Los Baños, we are One News.
Nearly 100 lawmakers had dinner in the palace Tuesday evening at a time when rumors were circulating that there's a coup plot in Congress. Marian Enriquez has this story.
To show that they still have the president's back, close to 100 lawmakers from the lower chamber had dinner in Malacanang on Tuesday. Among those present include House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco and Deputy Speakers Mikey Romero and Rufus Rodriguez.
We are all here to show our support to Senator Bongo. To you, Mr. President, we believe that you're running also for senator. So we have President Bongo, then we have Vice President Sara, then we have Senator Rodrigo Duterte.
The dinner happened just hours after a coup rumor circulated in the House of Representatives. One attendee, Diwa Party List Representative Michael Aglipay, received a coup plot message. He claims that it came from House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez, Lakas CMD's president. Romualdez was not invited in the dinner.
Actually, yung una ko lang na text during the entire Monday was to unseat the speaker. Ang concern lang naman nila si Majority Leader Romualdez para hindi namin galawin, papalabasin nila, gagalawin nila si speaker.
But Romualdez dismissed the allegations. He says he is now focused on the candidacy of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte for Vice President. The relationship of ruling party PDP Laban and Lakas CMD might be tested after Mayor Inday Sara opted to run with the latter in a ticket with Bongbong Marcos of Partido Federal. But is this reason enough for movements in Congress?
Sa tingin ko ngayon, naghihintay sila na mas grabbing move from the other camp. Pero as of now, hindi pa nagwawarrant ng ganong reaction na malaki na magtanggalan.
For political analyst Tony Lavinia, such meetings and endorsements from the president may do more harm than good.
Walang epekto ang endorsement ng presidente, di ba? Kaya hindi rin nakatulong kay Bongo yung kanina. Sa tingin ko nakasama kay Sara yun eh. Kasi parang si Sara kasama ni Marcos pero, di ba? Meron din pala siyang sariling mga boto galing sa, di ba? Kasi syempre kamag-anak siya ni Pangulo, no?
Mayor Sara has already confirmed his alliance and tandem with Marcos Jr. and has accepted Senator Bong Revilla's offer to be Lakas CMD chairperson. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Here are the other election stories we're watching. Presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos faces another hurdle in his bid to return to Malacanang. Martial law victims filed the first petition to disqualify Marcos Jr.'s presidential run. This is in addition to the two earlier petitions to cancel his certificate of candidacy. Marcos Jr. says that the petitions against him lack merit. Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia says One Cebu is considering Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Bongbong Marcos Jr. to be their presidential bet. According to Garcia, Moreno is being seriously considered by the party, while his son-in-law, Congressman Duke Frasco, is naturally sympathetic with Marcos Jr. The Commission on Elections has rejected 126 party list applications for the 2022 national elections. COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon said that more than 100 from the denied groups have filed motion for reconsideration. The poll body is expected to finish the assessment by December 6.
For the big story in sports, the iconic Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles will be no more in a month's time. Come Christmas Day, the iconic arena, which has been home to the Lakers, Clippers, and other LA teams since 1999, will be renamed the Crypto.com Arena. While the exact details have not been released just yet, the deal is rumored to be in the ballpark of $700 million, the largest venue naming rights deal in U.S. history. Meanwhile, in the NBA, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors put on a clinic as they defeated the Brooklyn Nets 117-99. Fresh off their loss to the Charlotte Hornets earlier this week, Curry and the Warriors quickly returned to their winning ways in dominant fashion. While the Nets made things interesting in the first half, the Warriors outscored them in the third quarter 35-10 en route to a dominant victory. Curry erupted for 37 points, hitting 9 three-pointers while adding 7 rebounds, 5 assists in 29 minutes of action. And here are the other scores from Wednesday's games.
Time for another quick break when we return. Digital transactions have risen over the pandemic, and so did cyber threats. Bank says incidents have grown threefold. After a 3-hour-long virtual summit, the U.S. and China have agreed to ease restrictions for each other's journalists. Villains from installments past make their return in Spider-Man No Way Home latest trailer, but former Spideys have yet to make their appearance. These big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Maricel Halili. The pandemic has accelerated the use of digital transactions, but it has also given rise to cyber crimes.
Banks are reporting that scamming incidents have grown threefold over the course of the health crisis. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez with this story.
In the thick of the pandemic, cybercrimes have become one of the fastest growing threats in the country. Investment scams, phishing, identity fraud, hacking. The Bankers Association of the Philippines has been tracking all of these, and it says the number of incidences has jumped.
The number of incidences have gone up by threefold since the pandemic. We're now seeing close to around 900 a month to 1,000 a month.
The BAP is an organization of the country's largest banks, so their data would include reports from, for example, BDO, BPI, Metrobank, Security Bank, etc. It also says the most common incidences revolve around 3 types of fraud.
The first one is around phishing. Clients are inveigled to give up their personal information, primarily their user IDs, their passwords. Second form is via identity theft. Third, which is targeting really small firms.
Hoxton says banks now have a database so that, for instance, if one bank is victimized, the others can see what happened and can be forewarned. They're also pushing for the mandatory registration of SIM cards so that all numbers can be traced. Lastly, the BAP is working with lawmakers to criminalize things like phishing or when someone sells their bank accounts to syndicates for use in fraud. But Hoxton also warns that criminals are getting more sophisticated when it comes to stealing your personal info.
For example, phishing. Somebody calls you up, tells you, hey, your account has been compromised. We need your help now to lock your account. And the caller speaks well. Some clients inadvertently divulge personal information.
The BAP and PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group would like to remind everyone to never give out their personal details over the phone. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
Time for an express look at some of the day's big stories. Malacanang confirmed that one of the lawyers listed by the Dargani siblings as their legal counsel used to work for the office of the president. According to acting presidential spokesperson and cabinet secretary Carlo Nograles, attorney Daryl Richie Valles previously worked under the office of the president and resigned on March 1, 2021. Presidential advisor for entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, and the private sector are pushing to allow for 1 or 2 day quarantine for returning Filipinos and tourists. Concepcion said that several countries have already begun to use the policy. He noted that the Philippines may implement it as well as long as PCR test results are delivered within the day. The IATF has approved the phased implementation of limited in-person classes for college programs in areas under Alert Level 3 and below. SHED is mandated to execute the program. This is to ensure the safe reopening of higher education campuses.
In world news, China and the United States have agreed to ease access for journalists coming from each other's countries. Both superpowers have agreed to issue 1-year multiple entry visa for journalists for the other country's journalists. The consensus was reportedly reached before the virtual summit between Chinese leader Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden. Tension between the two states resulted in a cut in the number of Chinese nationals working as journalists in the U.S. China likewise expelled U.S. journalists and then introduced new visa restrictions on several U.S. media companies.
The latest trailer of Spider-Man No Way Home sure is like a trip down memory lane. It gave fans a glimpse of the return of familiar foes.
There are others out there. We need to send them back. So, Scooby-Doo this crap.
Alfredo Molina reprises his role as Dr. Octopus, while William Dafoe's Green Goblin also makes a comeback. Jamie Foxx as Electro, and Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman will also try to wreak havoc once again.
They all die fighting Spider-Man. It's their fate.
But fans were left hanging in the two former Spideys, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, if they will join Tom Holland for the third installment of the Spider-Man series. Rumor mill has been a buzz that the two will make a comeback. Fans may just have to wait once the film makes its way to Philippine cinemas in January. For News 5, MJ Marfori, We Are One News.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has unveiled its latest collection of commemorative coins. The 100 peso commemorative coins feature Filipino heroes Teresa Magbanwa, Mariano Ponce, and Emilio Aguinaldo. The 100 peso coins were sold online via the BSP store at 350 pesos each, but they were sold out immediately due to high demand. Collectors ought to flip a coin, and they hope that they can still score this, whether baka sa Facebook Marketplace, baka sa restaurant, or baka swertihan kasi baka makapulot ka sa kalye.
Oo nga, swertihan pala to para makakuha ka ng coin.
Pero commemorative yan, ha?
Oo naman.
Limited.
Yes.
Di ba, every time you see a coin, parang feeling mo parang palit ng palit yung pera natin.
Correct. It's so confusing kung ano yung 25 cents sa 1 peso ngayon.
Oo. Pero tatanggapin pa rin natin yan. 100 pesos, mga ninong, mga ninang.
Yeah.
Kaya papel yan o coins, okay pa rin yan.
Welcome pa rin po yan sa akin. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And on behalf of Gretchen Ho, I'm Marisol Halili. We are One News.